Welcome back to Phoenix, Arizona for Turning Point USA, where I'm joined by very famous show hosts, Tiffany Marie Brannon.
Hi.
Tiffany, tell us about your show.
The new show is the Tiffany Marie Brannon Show.
What's it about?
And it has a little more of a faith twist to it.
Okay.
We're discussing culture and politics, specifically from a unique perspective of women who are intellectual, who have a little more of an education background. And basically that's the demographic that we seem to lose on the right and in the church community. We lose women by a 27 to 30 point margin because we don't talk to them. So we're talking to men and women both, but I want to bring my unique perspective, which is a highly overeducated white American female.
How do you think events like this are perceived by the wider voting public and the female voting public?
Oh, I think they think it's a misogynistic, sexist.
Yeah, I mean, women
gather.
seem to be lectured, about all sorts of things, told if they don't have kids and a family, they're somehow letting down America.
Oh, absolutely. And that seems to be this weird anti-breeder culture that you see in like subgroups like on Reddit and all those things, where you're seeing this pushback that really is rooted in feminism, and it's rooted in the idea that men are evil, women don't need men, and has created this sort of like childless cat lady culture. So when they look in at something about like this, they think that we are diminishing women into, a pair of ovaries and a uterus who can just be barefoot in the kitchen. That's not what this is about. Erica Kirk is CEO of this organization. It's all about empowering women. It's about giving women a voice and bringing back the female into the rightful place in life.
But how helpful is it then when you got, the headliner on the stage, you got Tucker Carlson, who has sparked, a bubbling civil war on the right, has blown open since he...
bubbling.
It has blown open since he interviewed Nick Fuentes, a guy that says, women are weird and stupid and thick and subhuman.
I think it's a very big problem that Tucker platformed Nick Fuentes. I think he's a disgusting, vile person who has no place in our space. He is abominable. And frankly, I don't think we need to say any more about Nick Fuentes other than the fact that he live streamed himself watching gay porn and blamed it on the IDF.
Yeah, but then, he's been brought into the fold since Charlie's death. Charlie Kirk was a bulwark to a lot of these crazies. He was a bulwark to them. He would not have had Nick Fuentes or his supporters anywhere near this event.
The Kuipers would never be welcome.
That void is being filled by something pretty rotten, right?
It's dangerous what's happening. It's almost like an incel culture that is against anything true, good, and beautiful that Charlie stood for. And it's a dangerous vacuum. The fact that men like Nick Fuentes and the Andrew Tates of the world are being platformed and are being
Russell Brand is, facing a rape trial in the UK and multiple counts of rape, and he's on the platform. I mean, if we go back to your original point, what message does that send to, women, floating voters perhaps, who are thinking about voting Republican, and they see someone like that platform?
Yeah, I think that it is an immediate turnoff, because we don't talk to them as equals. We talk to them as lunatics or the problem. I mean, I agree that the reason why something like Zohran Mamdani is mayor of New York is because the math doesn't lie, and it was white women that voted in the office.
Educated liberal women who have been in New York for less than 5 years.
Exactly. They're the problem. I agree. I fit that demographic stereotypically. However, the reason that we are using them is because we don't talk to them like they're snares.
Right.
We don't talk to them like they're people.
Which is what you're trying to do.
Yeah, well, we dehumanize them into a bunch of talking points and memes. We make them feel small. We make them feel rejected. We call them names. I'm pro-life. We call people, especially these women that, are part of the death cult that is the Democratic Party, we call them baby killers. We call them murderers. We don't say, hey, here's the science behind why this is wrong. Let me talk to you like a human with intelligent points. And there's the pushback that they don't actually listen to anything you say. But that's just not true. You can't look at the number of people that have completely changed their ideology and have come to the right on the men side because we talk to them in this way. We talk to the young male demographic this way. There's no reason why it shouldn't work for the young female demographic.
President Trump, won re-election by reaching voters that wouldn't necessarily vote, predominantly younger men.
Yes.
Do you think the Republicans do have a women problem, right?
Big women problem.
How the next leader, probably going to be JD Vance, if Erica Kirk has got anything to do with it, Marco Rubio has got to do a thing. How does a figure like JD Vance neutralize all the problems that you've just raised and reach that female vote?
I think he needs to start raising up generals, for real generals, that are women that can properly speak to the women that we're losing. Like, my whole idea in the beginning was to have like a conservative call her daddy, because we have women that are wonderful, like Isabella Brown and Ally Beth Stuckey, who are these wonderful Christian women who are married with children. And we have no problem platforming them. We have no problem giving them a space inside of our movement and really, promoting the mother, wife, child thing. And also you can have a show and have a grit. But we still lack fundamentally looking at single women, looking at divorced women, looking at women that, maybe they want to be married with kids, but they just...
Life hasn't worked out like that.
Life hasn't worked out like that. But even in the church and in the conservative movement, if you're a single woman, you either A, if you're divorced, you usually have a scarlet letter on you of some way, like, oh, something's wrong with you. Or B, you look at as defective because you haven't procreated. And there is very much almost like a time limit. I was at a conservative conference recently, and the guys there said, "Oh, if a woman's over 34, I won't even look at her. She's
that's a cultural issue that goes far deeper than psephology and electoral politics, right? That's an issue with the right.
It is, but
and fundamentally, it's the religious right.
And as a deeply conservative Christian who loves the Lord and falls in that category, I can tell you that it's created this entire group of women who are smart, beautiful, interesting, fun, outgoing, but who don't fit into a box. And because we've maintained this little square peg that we're so convinced every woman has to fit in, we are losing elections.
Yeah.
And we are also losing the soul of America, because they aren't even connecting to God and the church anymore, and they're voting in socialist idiots like Zohran Mamdani.
You can kind of see Trump and Mamdani. Obviously, we saw that love-in in the White House. They're almost kind of different products of the same symptoms, right? People that feel disconnected with the current system. They can't get a house, they can't get a job, they can't get a work, a family, they can't afford to live. Yes, the New York liberals went to the left, hard left, and changed Mamdani, but I mean, that's basically MAGA, right?
I disagree, because fundamentally what you're looking at are ideological problems, right? Socialism.
Yeah, different solutions to the same symptoms.
But socialism has never, ever worked in the history of humanity. Politically, ideologically, it's failed since the utopian socialists of the 1700s. So you have Charles Fourier and Robert Owens, who created they were born in the 1770s, and by the early 1800s, they created the utopian socialist movement, which they tried to start here in America in New Harmony, Indiana, which of course failed after 2 years. Those principles then went on to Mars.
Surprisingly lasted that long.
Shocking. Looks like utopia, isn't that normal?
Yeah, and then suddenly everyone's in camps.
It's so weird. So weird. How did that happen? But you have Marx being their disciple, and then trying to repackage this as we'll look more at economics. We're going to focus more on the economic base of socialism than, the social communal aspect of it. It just doesn't work. And really what this comes down to is an education problem. Our lack of education, our stepping away from the classics, our stepping away from great literature, from philosophy, from theology in the regular curriculum from the liberal arts degrees. And I'm not talking about college, I'm talking about in primary school. Why are the 96% of all required reading has been published after the year 2000?
Yep.
That's a problem. You want to talk about instilling great virtues? I mean, C.S. Lewis talked about this in The Abolition Man. We are going to create, he gave a warning symbol back in the 60s that we are creating men without virtue, men without chastity, called on, and we are going to expect them to act virtuously, and that was going to be the downfall of our society. And it's men with a big letter, men and women. So
and women need to save the West.
Women need to save the West.
It falls to you guys once again to
we have to have the babies, we have to nurse the babies, and we have to save the world again. Because really, feminism created a bunch of weak men that didn't create a space for women to be women because they were so abused. There's the new statistic that came out that if you are a 40-year-old white man, you have been discriminated against your entire life.
Guess how old I am? You go, wow. 40 next year.
So
40 next year. My whole life I've been discriminated.
Your whole life. Your whole life.
Yeah. Well,
it's a cultural problem that has shifted the narrative and has then ignored and rejected a group of people that we should be talking to instead of mocking.
Yeah. Tiffany, where can we find the show?
You can find the show on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and you can follow on Instagram at Tiffany Marie Brannon. That's it.
Good luck saving the West.
Thanks, trying.
Me too.